again, everybody. Welcome to Frenemies of the People. At Grace Draws Stuff is our producer. She also produces stuff. That's Natalie, Eleni, Patrick. We can't be bought, so we don't have any sponsorships. We don't even need them. We don't need a sponsorship from tasty, delicious, energizing Diet Coke or protein-packed jerky from Wally's. We don't need any of those sponsors. We're commercial free. So let's get after it. Summer is over. Unofficially, of course, the kids are back at school. We're back to work. So our many viewers and fans want to know, what did you do on your summer vacation, gang?
I moved houses, so that was pretty awful.
I traveled across the globe with two little children. That was truly a wonderful experience for all of us.
Good material for Sounds Terrible. And Patrick?
I just got back from Disney World and our home renovation project is underway. So we've got quite the team of builders and movers here at Culloton.
These are the gifts they keep on giving. As I referenced earlier this summer, I spent more than 30 hours in a van with other smelly runners going across Oregon. And that was smelly, but we raised more than $40,000 for the American Cancer Society. So suck it, cancer. Speaking of sucking, let's go to the news in Chicago, where Mayor Johnson and Governor Pritzker spent most of the end of their summer holding press conferences and blasting President Trump for threatening to send in the National Guard to fight crime in Chicago, something that as we record this podcast, the president reiterated again from the Oval Office. So setting aside the morality and constitutionality of such a move, both of which are perhaps questionable and dubious, I want to talk about the tactic here. Once again, the president has forced Democrats to be explaining. So now the mayor and the governor are telling the nation and the national media that crime rates are declining. But Eleni, CWB, an editor, Tim Heck, reported that Labor Day weekend saw 59 people shot, 9 people killed. It was the fourth worst Labor Day weekend since 2015, according to the crime data website, heyjackass.com. Hopefully, Producer Grace, we can say, hey, jackass, on our podcast. Those are the times that we live in, but it's a very credible data collection site. So, Eleni, we always say if you're explaining, you're losing. What's your observation on this tactic?
I mean, I don't know if anybody's really doing much explaining. I think that this gives them the opportunity, once again to take the stage. And yes, I think crime will always be an issue here in Chicago and honestly everywhere. There's always anecdotal information that you can use on crime. I think that, they're using this as another opportunity to highlight the stark contrast of where each side of the spectrum is on this issue. And I think I think we're all waiting to see what's actually going to happen here. And if there's going to be troops sent here, I saw earlier this afternoon, Pritzker said he has gotten intel that they're getting ready to send some, I think, troops from Texas over here. So again, I think it's going to be interesting to see what actually ends up happening, because right now it's just a bunch of talking points.
Well, it's a lot of political theater, to be sure, to make sure that the message is getting across in a ham-handed fashion in these very polarizing times. Meanwhile, despite all of the glamour of running a big city like Chicago, Natalie, mayors are coming out of the woodwork. So Fran Spielman, who we love, but we also fear, wrote about Congressman Mike Quigley of the north and northwest Chicago neighborhoods and suburbs around O'Hare, also Elmwood Park and Oak Brook. Definitely not gerrymandered. Anyway, I digress. Congressman Quigley said that the city needs to make drastic changes to solve their financial crises without socking it to the taxpayers. So my question, Natalie, is can a tough love message like that work?
It's a great question. If you look at New York, the answer would probably be no. It's just more unicorns and rainbows and suggesting we can open grocery stores and pay for things that we don't have money for. But when you are a long-standing member of the political machine in Chicago and, you know, the broader Cook County area that has created these systemic issues, I think the tough love message falls a little flat. And, you know, interestingly, he touched sort of the third rail a little bit, discussing the need to address pensions and bring labor to the table and negotiate. And I think we all know how that movie ends.
Yeah, retrading with the unions and asking everyone in Chicago to eat more broccoli with their broccoli. So we shall say it's tough love, to be sure, and words that needed to be said out loud. And Patrick, Congressman Quigley did not yet commit to running for mayor. While you were all vacationing this summer with your kids, Shia Kapos of Illinois Politico Playbook said that a 38-year-old tech entrepreneur named Liam Stanton gave her an exclusive interview to say that he is considering running for mayor. Pause there. The list is growing. He has acknowledged that he has not yet caught fire with his campaign. He's in the listening mode, but he is one of many folks who have been sending out some trial balloons about running for mayor. The proverbial clown car may need to be a stretch limo, Patrick.
Maybe they could use CTA buses and they could charge a surcharge and that could help pay for the CTA budget shortfall, right? It'd be nice if they all took mass transit. But the fact that so many people are openly contemplating running for mayor is an indicator of perceived weakness, right? It's like blood in the water, so to speak, for sharks and these other things. And so I think whether it's Congressman Quigley observing on some fiscal disorder, last time around, right, there was a recruit Mike Quigley effort that kind of went out there and then he decided now wasn't the right time. But, you know, I think you'll see even more folks take a look at running just based on the dysfunction and the disorder that we're seeing. But we see it play out in issues, too, where budgets get proposed and budgets get voted down or councils are a little weak. And historically, right, we've had a very strong mayor of Chicago. And when perception is that perhaps that strength isn't there, other folks will keep putting their toes in the water and see if they can find a pathway to fundraising.
And of course, Eleni, Mayor Johnson is also expected to announce that he will run for re-election, and the more candidates that get in the race, probably the better for him.
Yeah, I mean, the more the merrier at this point. It's just, again, it's going to be interesting to see as time goes forward how the list dwindles. But I think it's only going to grow from here until probably, I would say, next summer.
You'll hear a lot of people have been encouraging me to run. Perennial candidate Willie Wilson is also expected to be back in the race. Always keeps it interesting.
Apologist is asking me to run a little bit more. There's just lots of people encouraging folks to run.
You heard it here first, folks. All right, so we've covered the depressing news. We've covered the happy news of summer vacations and then the sad news that summer is over. So I think it's time to do something a little bit different for Sounds Terrible. It's time for a special fall kickoff edition of Sounds Terrible. Producer Grace, insert the the fabulous Sounds Terrible sounder here. And it's going to be a quiz show today.
Ooh.
What's more terrible? So let's start with Patrick. Patrick, Block Club, and now the esteemed Washington Post featured a story about Jacob Ryan Reno, who has been at summer festivals offering to create terrible portraits of you for $5. And these are pictures, as producer Grace will show, that your kids could probably also draw, maybe for less than $5 if they get into a bidding war. But Jacob Ryan Reno promises to do his terrible portraits in 5 terrible minutes. So this is a guy that we need to have on the show at some point, and we need to support him because we're all united in terribleness. But is Jacob Reno's terrible portraits terrible, or is it more terrible that Birkenstocks, the earthy, crunchy shoe wear, is opening a store in Naperville?
You know, I'm just going to go out on a limb and suggest the Birkenstock store should hire the portrait artist to come and do terrible portraits in downtown Naperville to help them promote the wonderful footwear of Birkenstock. So I'm gonna combine both stories, and then it can be in the Naperville Sun and the Daily Herald, in addition to Block Club, Chicago, and the Washington Post.
Always thinking. All right, Patrick. Always thinking. Okay, Eleni, we learned this summer that your kids like to lick airplane windows. So what's worse, being trapped on an airplane with your kids or being trapped in a van with Dennis and 5 smelly runners for 30 hours?
Wow, that's hard. Are the kids medicated? And are
Yeah,
you guys
You
medicated?
might be.
I think you need to answer the question as phrased.
If
So,
I can be medicated, yeah. I'm gonna have to say I'm gonna go with the airplane, only because there's more space. Like, get away from you. It can't get
Yeah.
away from you in the van. So
right,
Go
you're stuck
airplane.
with me in the van, and you're possibly going someplace nicer where you could
yes,
maybe lose the
the
kids.
destination is also
Yeah.
important. So yes.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, Natalie,
Mm-hmm.
we learned this summer that you moved perhaps from a secure location in River Forest to another secure location in River Forest. So what's worse, moving or being invited to the basement of River Forest resident Tony Accardo?
I mean, hands down, Tony Accardo.
I
Moving
mean,
is still terrible, but it's just up the street, actually. So just a couple of
doesn't
blocks.
he? I remember he had a secret passageway from under his garage to into his house, so he never had to walk out in the light where
Well,
somebody
there's
could take him.
multiple residences that he moved from
Yeah.
time to time. And the fun fact about the location up the street is that the family who lives there now, the mom is a yoga instructor, and so you could make some pretty good jokes about joints creaking and cracking and that.
And that is where Tony ultimately met his maker through natural causes, as I understand it. But there's some others around him that were not so fortunate. Well, there are no incorrect answers in what's more terrible. In this game, it's all terrible. And if it's terrible, it's Frenemies of the People by Culloton Bauer Luce. So that's Eleni, Natalie, Patrick, producer Grace. Until next time, thanks for viewing.